Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Idahoan Show. I made a previous episode about how I built my root cellar, kind of like an inside-out utility trailer buried in the ground. But initially I just had a dirt ramp leading down to the door of the root cellar, and the problem was that, well, for one thing, in the winter, that ramp would drift in with snow. You know, every time the wind blew, I'd have to shovel 6 feet of snow out of that ramp in order to get to the door. Now, that was doable, but then when spring came, the snow would start to melt and run down and pool at the doorstep. Even though I did have drainage there for water to run down under the cellar and sink into the ground, that would all freeze up, and then I'd end up with, 6 inches of ice in front of the door that I'd have to chip through if I wanted to open the door. So that was the worst part, was in wet springs, early spring when the snow is melting during the day but then freezing at night. It made it very difficult to access the cellar, and then there was also water getting in, again in spite of the drainage that I'd provided because the drain was full of ice. So I made some improvements to the root cellar, and that's what I wanted to give you an update on today. Specifically, I built a shed around the entryway to the root cellar to keep the weather out. Built it about half out of cinder blocks and half out of wood. Tried to build it with materials that I sort of had on hand, so it may have come out a bit ramshackle, but it's got character. So I figure this will do a couple of things for me. First and foremost, like I said, it'll keep the weather out so I can more readily access the root cellar year-round, but it also provides me with some additional storage space for things like empty canning jars that don't necessarily require the temperature-stable storage, which then frees up space inside the root cellar for more food storage, etc. And finally, with this structure keeping direct sunlight off of the door to the root cellar and with the earth banked up about halfway up the walls, I'm hoping that this will help to further improve the temperature stability of the root cellar itself. Over the past few years, since I built the root cellar, the temperature has been sufficiently stable for storage purposes, but maybe not as stable as I would have liked. In the coldest part of the winter, I've found that it will get cold enough in the root cellar to have frost forming on the floor, so it's below the freezing point of fresh water. It has not gotten cold enough to freeze canned goods, so the temperature is somewhere between the freezing point of fresh water and the freezing point of salt water, sugar water, canning solutions. It's okay. It is allowed us to store canned goods through the winter without any expenditure of electricity, but I wouldn't mind having a larger margin of safety there. And then so too in summer heat, it seems like the temperature will get up to about 70 in the root cellar, which I would much prefer if it stayed down below 60. So, it'll be interesting to see if this structure does in fact make the temperature inside the root cellar more stable year-round. But anyway, I wanted to make this update so that you all out there, especially anyone who's contemplating similar projects, can benefit from my lessons learned. If I was going to build this root cellar all over again, knowing what I know now, I would probably be inclined to build it as more of a shed with a basement and not have to bury that portion of it, since I'm going to have to put an entryway over it anyway. So, hope this information is beneficial to someone out there, and until next time, thank you for watching The Idahoan Show.